Well, hello, Manchester Hooks at Auburn. It's been a while. I missed the last 2 weeks to be on with you on the progress report, and I don't have a really good reason except the first week the House session ran long, and it would have been tough for me to make it, but Mike Farley did a great job presenting the introduction to the great St. Patrick's Day parade, which we had this past Sunday.
That was
The best parade in the city of Manchester all year.
Yeah.
And we have many fine parades, but that is unquestionably the best. And then last week I was enjoying the sun in Florida and didn't get back quite in time. And tonight, by gosh, I am delighted to have back my dear friend, the Dean of the Senate, Lou D'Alessandro, representing Manchester, 3 wards in Manchester and the town of Goffstown, my hometown. And tonight, for the first time in quite a while, we do not have a third person at the microphone because the people I reached out to rather late were not available, and so it's Lou and I, but we think that's a pretty top-flight combination right there. And there's lots happening that Lou's very much involved in, and to some extent I am too, at the State House. We're going through our legislative session, and we're getting up to the time we're really coming to the crunch on developing the state budget for the next biennium. Not tomorrow. We have bills to vote on tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow, the House will vote on the budget as proposed by the House Finance, which is quite different from the budget proposed in many particulars by Governor Sununu when he made his budget presentation to us way back in February. The budget's an evolving thing. And the first year of any biennium, when this is the first year of this biennium, it goes, the governor presents his budget in February, the House has its crack at it, and the last batter up, Senate. And Lou D'Alessandro is the chair of Senate Finance. And they will have the last bite at this apple, and then we will have our budget for the state of New Hampshire, a couple $1 billion worth of activity in the state. And we're certainly going to want to talk about that because there's some really big issues in the budget this year. And Lou, I might just tee one up right here because it's you're the guy that has the experience, the knowledge, the background, the work to really provide some insight into this. The big issue, well, there's many big issues with the state budget as proposed by the House Democrats, but one that attracted an editorial from the union leader today. Governor Sununu, feeling rather flush because of the booming economy we've had. I don't want to credit particularly his business tax cuts because I don't think they got much to do with it. But because of the booming economy, we are, relatively for New Hampshire, which operates very often pretty close to the margins, but for New Hampshire, we have some funds available. We can contribute them to the Rainy Day Fund, which is our contingency fund. And Governor Sununu has many suggestions for what to do with the rather plush surplus we have in our state budget, thanks to the robust economy. May it last, but it probably won't last all forever. They never do. And one of the things he wanted to do was to do something about something I think Lou and I and probably everybody watching will agree on. We have been housing mentally challenged people who may be a danger to themselves or others, or both. We've been housing them at the state prison. And that's a real problem because they've not been convicted of a crime. The state prison is for offenders. And we try and help them out to become maybe not be recidivists and reoffend. But nonetheless, the state prison is for people who have violated our criminal laws, and yet we are housing in the state prison several people with severe mental illness issues. And the governor said, well, I don't like this either, and I applaud him for that. This is not a good thing. And he said, I want to take, what was it, $24 million?
To do this project? At least $24 million.
At least $24 million to build a whole new building, presumably not too far from the state mental hospital in Concord, the New Hampshire hospital, which is our psychiatric hospital. and place them there. And it turned out that the House people that work on our finance committee, the most important committee we have in the House without a doubt, as I'm sure it is in the Senate with Lou, said that we don't like that idea. So there's an issue that's really got teed up. Is the governor right to say we should take $24 million or something like that to build a whole new facility to put these people in, so we're no longer housing in the state prison people who have not been convicted of any crime and put them somewhere else? Or is it a better idea to do something else? Lou, take it away.
Well, I think you've got to look at the history of the secure psychiatric unit and go right back to the 70s when those patients were housed at the bottom floor of the administrative building at New Hampshire Hospital. That situation proved to be intolerable, and as a result, those patients were moved to the prison. There are a number of other people who are not at the prison and who are not at the secure psychiatric hospital, but they're in Laconia at the top of the hill. There's about 5 of them there that have been there for a long, long period of time. They've got to be 24-hour, 24/7 guarded, and the cost of that particular situation is a multi-million-dollar situation to take care of 5 or 6 people.
I didn't even know about that. I'm glad you brought that up.
They've been there forever. We moved these people, and as you say, not adjudicated, to the prison. And we had the holiday suit. And as a result of the holiday suit, we ramped up the secure psychiatric unit. We fixed it up and made improvements to it so that they were getting the treatment that they needed. Now remember, men and women are there. And if you have a woman there, that means an entire section of this facility is designated for the woman, and the men are on the other side. So that's problematic in and of itself because you don't have that many women who are adjudicated. So you have a situation now where those people should be in a less restrictive environment, meaning they shouldn't be at the prison. So where should they be? Governor says we should build another wing on the New Hampshire Hospital. I don't think that's appropriate. You don't need to do that. We need to do a couple of things. We have children at New Hampshire Hospital. Those children shouldn't be there. They should be in a separate facility someplace else in the state.
Which they used to be at the Philbrook Center.
They were at the Philbrook Center at one time. We closed down. The Philbrook Center was not a great place, to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, physically, it was a terrible situation. But we closed the Philbrook Center, and as a result, the children ended up at the hospital. People say they should be at the Sununu Center, which we spent tons and tons of money to fix up. We took a federal grant. That's not acceptable to a lot of people. So it's up to the Commissioner of Health and Human Services to find alternate placement for these children. If you do that, you'll open up an area where you create 48 beds at New Hampshire Hospital to take care of those who truly need that kind of service. Now, that's less costly than building a wing. And in this respect, you have people there to service the patients. You don't have to get a whole new force to service these people. And what you're providing a service, you're doing it in the environment which that service can be provided by people who are capable of providing that service. We've lost sight of the fact that that's an alternative that we should exercise. The furor is people are in the emergency room at the hospitals around the state. You've heard that time and time
We've
again.
heard it again and
well,
again.
and again and again. Okay. Those who need it should be transferred where they belong, New Hampshire Hospital. If you create the beds at New Hampshire Hospital, you can service those people. All right, you can do that. So the need for an additional psychiatric hospital, another wing, I don't think that exists. That's in my opinion, that's kind of a waste of money rather than using money properly. There's a way to solve this problem. I'm meeting with the commissioner later this week. I'm meeting with the superintendent of New Hampshire Hospital. I'm meeting with a number of people who are concerned because we get the budget. And as a result of getting the budget, we're going to have to make some decisions. So there's a pathway to solve this problem. But we've got to get people together to come up with a solution that not only addresses the problem, but does it economically and does it efficiently. Remember, if you build a wing or a new building, that thing won't be ready for a couple of years, so you're not solving the problem.
You got to have staffing.
You got to have staffing and so forth, and so all of those obstacles are in place. But we have a solution, and we've got to work putting things together to solve that particular situation, and it's an emotional situation. I remember visiting the psychiatric unit when I was on the council, when we did move those patients from the psychiatric unit to the prison. And we did it because of safety, security. That was a terrible situation on the bottom floor of the building at the New Hampshire Hospital Complex. So we've made strides. Now we're faced with a situation that I think we can address. It's going to be addressed in the budget. And I think the House reacted properly. Now, I sat in on most of the budget hearings, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. They were Monday and Tuesday, and I sat in on the hearings. Today, when they voted on the budget came out 13-9, House Bill 1 and House Bill 2, purely on a partisan basis. 13 Democrats against 9 Republicans.
Sorry that's the way it came out, but that's the way it came out.
And they will bring this presentation to the entire House and then to the floor of the House, and you'll vote on this particular issue. And this. The psych unit is just part of an elaborate plan that the House brought together. Now, the Senate will then get this plan and will work it over. My intention, and I think the intention of every legislator should be, to create a document that's acceptable to all parties. That's the governor, the House, and the Senate. Obviously, the bill that was passed by the House today, by the committee, the Finance Committee today, is not acceptable. It's not acceptable to the governor. All right, there are ingredients in this bill that are not acceptable. And clearly he stated that on a number of occasions. Now, is the real question, can you work with the governor creating a document that he will accept that it's in the best interest of the people of the state? I mean, that's why we do a budget. We do a budget to take care of the people of the state of New Hampshire, not to satisfy the House or to satisfy the Senate, but to do something that takes care of the people, our constituents, those who we serve, and those who have needs. And those needs have to be addressed. That's what a budget's for. We are going to have to create a budget for the next 2 years, fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21, that addresses those needs. And there are lots of needs. And you have to specify on a priority basis what are the most significant needs. Now, paid family leave, which passed both the House and the Senate, is in the budget. Governor is probably going to veto paid family leave.
I think that's pretty much a certainty.
Because he's got his own paid family leave. So if he's going to veto it, why do you put it in the budget? I mean, that's a question I pose. And should you do that, does that mean, unless you have the votes to override it, in both the House and the Senate, which I'm not sure you do, then why bring it forward again when you can't override it? Number one, and it's blockage in terms of getting something done. It's a point that people can't agree on. So we've got to come to a point where we create a document that I said that addresses needs and can be signed, and that's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. The capital gains tax is in the House budget.
Right. All
right. There are those who are going to accept that, those who aren't. But indeed, that's the linchpin of this budget. That produces 150 in as far as revenue is concerned. That's $150 million. Most of it taken in the second year of the biennium, because that's when they expect the tax to gear up. So these are the problems that we in the Senate face, and the governor faces. But it shouldn't be a name-calling situation. We should be trying to establish some kind of a relationship that says we can work together, to solve the problems. Because if you don't pass a budget, the problems don't go away. The problems don't go away. The problems are still there. They still have to be addressed. They have to be funded in some cases. And you've got to come up with solutions. Life is a series of problem-solving exercises. That's what it's all about. So if we can't do that, then we create one of the great problems. Stalemate.
And then we have the fact, it's just a fact of life that, we're in an off year for electoral politics this year, except for municipal.
Right.
We have municipal elections here in the city of Manchester, very important.
Yes.
But it's off till next year till we get to the elections for governor and representatives and senators.
Right.
And at that point, what's the chance of cooperating on a larger scale for the public good? If you can't do it this year, it gets really hard.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. And we have a situation now that hasn't existed since the Civil War. You have a minority governor, a majority council, a majority House, and a majority Senate. Hasn't happened. It's a new phenomenon to deal with from a political standpoint. But indeed, we, I think, are in a state. I think the country's having a nervous breakdown, and what we've got to do is we've got to cure that, and the only way to do it is by getting things done. I think Trump has been successful because he has seized on the one thing that most people can agree upon: things are not working.
Yeah.
And as wild as he is, he has seized.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and he has seized on that particular item. We can't let that happen in New Hampshire. We can't let that kind of a situation prevail. We've got to address it, and we've got to be a problem-solving group. Budget is the most significant element that the legislature deals with.
Absolutely.
There's more legislation
That's
in that
where the
budget.
real choices are made.
Exactly. House Bill 1, House Bill 2, they run the state for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So you got the psychiatric unit, you got the children's situation, but think of the other mental health problems that have to be dealt with.
Yeah.
The number of people that have to be hired, the treatment modalities that have to be put in place. Medicaid expansion. What about the work requirement? What about the fact that you can't use general fund revenues if anything happens? The hospital participation that could be threatened. All of these things are out there and have to be dealt with. And indeed, if you spend time name calling, you don't have enough time to work, and that's what I want to focus on with the people who work with me in the Senate. I've spoken to the Republicans, and I've spoken to the Democrats who are on the committee, and I think we can do something. I think we can do something. If the mindset is to solve the problem, you have to get together and solve the problem.
Yeah.
But if the mindset is not to be an obstructionist, that situation becomes pervasive too.
And the crunch is right now, folks, because I think it's going to be extremely tough. If the problems are tough today, they're going to be tougher next year when it's an election season.
No question.
Exponentially tougher.
Yep.
And everybody gets in their high horses, says my view is the right view. If we can't do it now, and if there's one person I think I can trust to try and get this accomplished, it is you, Lou.
Well, thanks.
And I really mean that. I think we have our disagreements on some issues, but
yes.
I do believe that you have the best chance of reaching out and finding a common solution that can work for the best interest of the citizens of New Hampshire. It's got to be done this year, is my opinion.
Yes.
Lou, you mentioned something that really is, to me, kind of stunning, the idea we would have a capital gains tax in New Hampshire. I've been sitting in the House chamber, and the last week, one of the Republican members got up and said, as a woman from Merrimack, and she said, we all know taxes are theft. And I went, what? Taxes are theft? It says in the IRS building, taxes are the price we pay to live in a civilized society.
Right.
That's what I've always thought taxes were. And I said, well, that's a one-off thing. It doesn't mean anything. And then the next session, we had 3 more Republicans get up and say the same thing. Taxes are theft. And, I mean, you know, if you have that mindset, how can you possibly solve the problem? Because our people have these needs. The people with mentally challenged people in their family or for themselves. You know, we've not treated these people properly. We've let them, get anywhere near the kind of care we would give if they had a physical ailment. And it's equally debilitating to have a mental problem.
Sure.
And if you think taxes are theft, how are we ever going to solve this?
Well,
and it's just and then we have the proposal from the House coming through the House for a capital gains tax. Do you think there's any future for that in this environment?
well, it will pass the House. I'm pretty sure it will pass the House.
I believe it will.
Yeah. Does it have a future? I'm not sure. I haven't asked other members in the Senate. At this point, I'm not for the capital gains tax. I've presented a plan for the last 20 years that could solve many of our problems, and it's my
I
gaming.
think I can guess what this might be.
It's my gaming proposal, which is alive again, and we'll send it to the House. Now, how you tell
Okay.
me how this makes sense. How the House votes for Keno, how the House votes for sports gambling,
That bothered me a little bit.
how the House raises the amount that you can bet in a charitable gaming to $10, how you can do all of those things and say you're opposed to a casino.
Well, it's because of the slot machines. we believe the slot. I mean, I'm not with you on this one, as you know.
Well,
my
yes,
good friend.
sure. And
We're going to be good friends.
I
But I
understand
just
that.
think that the slots are so addictive. They're so attuned to preying on people's weakness for something for nothing or practically nothing. And you know, Lou. I mean, I have to hand it to you. I thought this thing was as dead as it could be, but with Lou D'Alessandro, nothing's ever dead if he's pushing it. And I thought once we had the casinos being built in Everett and near Boston and in Springfield, that was the end of the idea that we could have a bonanza with a New Hampshire casino. But tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I think that the fact of the matter is it's still alive. I think the people of New Hampshire, the basic population, wants it. They've always supported it. I mean, the way they support charitable gaming is unbelievable. You know, that's up in the $100 million in terms of the.
Yeah, we're not innocent,
Yeah,
naive.
we're not
when it comes to
innocent
gambling.
and naive. So
I agree
indeed,
with
I think there's a desire to get it done. But even if you don't do the gaming, the question is there enough money within the confines of what we have, the base revenues plus the surplus, to do the job? And I think there is. Granted, you have to prioritize. I understand that. But everybody can't have everything. And before we get away from the secure psychiatric unit, let's talk about the history of how we treated mental illness in
Yeah, that
this
would
state.
be worth it going in. I would like you to do that.
Because I think it's important. We created a New Hampshire hospital. We created the Laconia State School.
Yeah, I remember them both.
At one time, we had almost 3,000 people at the New Hampshire hospital.
One of them was my very own father.
Yeah.
My
And
very father.
Franklin Pierce's cousin or something died in the hallway at New Hampshire Hospital.
Really?
Yes, I remember going with Major Wheelock when he was superintendent. Well, anyway, we thought that the solution to mental problems was to put people away.
It was like one psychiatrist for about 1,500.
Yeah, and so we created New Hampshire Hospital, built this campus, built all of these buildings, had this tunnel structure where you didn't even have to go outside to get from one building to the other. And we thought that was the way to go. And remember, We only had about 400,000 people living in the state of New Hampshire at that time.
Right.
So think of that when you think of it on a percentage basis, the number of people that we had at New Hampshire Hospital. Then we had Laconia State School, and the basic premise was that was a good thing to do. You know, we sold this. That was a treatment modality that was sold and that was accepted. And if you want to see a film about it, look at the film Lost in Laconia.
I should do that.
Yes, I used to show it to my class when I was teaching state and local government. So we accepted both of those ideas. In the 1970s, we came up with a new concept called deinstitutionalization.
Community services.
Community. We were going to get them out. So we began releasing people from New Hampshire Hospital and creating mental health centers around the state. And that worked out very well for a while because we funded them.
Yeah.
And we were careful. We paid attention to detail. We took the people out of the Laconia State School, and we closed the Laconia State School. So that was brilliant. It really was.
We were
Yeah.
leading the nation, I think.
We did lead
Pretty
the
close
nation.
to leading the nation.
And we were acting responsibly
Yeah.
because we knew that we had done something that was inappropriate.
Yep.
Okay? When you look at what we did and look at the mental framework that was created that made people think it was the right thing to do. You can convince yourself of anything if you hear it enough times.
Yeah.
So we got them out of there. We had the centers to develop, and then we let it go. We didn't fund them.
We did not fund these community support systems.
The community mental health centers didn't get the kind of support they needed.
Yeah, and it went to hell.
Okay, then all of a sudden, a new phenomenon developed. What's the new phenomenon? The drug culture.
Right.
All right, we found, we through our great research and development, pharmaceutical companies found methodologies to keep people in a state where they could be taken care of. All right, so the drug culture developed, and we had a drug for everything.
Right.
The painkillers developed. How the suits around OxyContin are enormous. But the Purdue company is going to pay Oklahoma $280 million.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
we didn't continue to do the good job of funding, and the drug culture developed. And it wasn't the opioid crisis. It was the drug culture that
Sure.
developed.
Yeah.
From the drug culture came the opioid crisis. And that surge came to the country, but it came to New Hampshire. We tried to deal with it. So right away, our keen sense was, we've got to solve this problem. We've got to solve this problem. Well, what was the reason for it? Was mental health associated with the opioid crisis? Well, what happens as a result of that? Yes, mental health, but what's the ultimate result of mental health problems? Suicide. We have a suicide rate that's 25% higher than the nation. So you get all of
In
these
New
things
Hampshire?
happen. Yeah, we do. And we've had that for a long time.
I did not know that.
We had
but
that.
I do know that the life expectancy of the males in the U.S. is declining.
Yeah. Yes.
Imagine that after centuries of it increasing regularly.
So over time, all of these things happened, and part of it because we didn't pay attention. We didn't pay attention. Now, the public is alert. The public recognizes what's going on because it's hitting all the families, not only the poor, but everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is involved, and as a result, we say, how are we going to get out of it? Well, let's build another psychiatric thing. Well, aren't we going back the same way?
Yeah.
I mean, history has a tendency to
seems like
repeat
we
itself.
might be, yes.
Yeah, and I don't think that's the right way to go. The right way to go is to treat people, but treat them properly, provide a good environment, and provide the services that maintain them once they get out. That, in my opinion, is part of the answer.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you, Bob, I have people that come to my house with those kinds of problems. I mean, friends, constituents. I'm not a psychiatrist, and I try to create at least an environment where you can come and talk to me. But they should be able to talk to anybody about it, and that should be made available to them. But people have to be engaged. They have to be engaged, and if that doesn't happen, you can put all the money in the world out there. It isn't going to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So that's a little history, and my colleagues in the Senate don't know that history. Many of them don't know that history. We're at an age where we know the history.
We know the history.
All right, because
Yeah.
we were here. We lived through it.
Yeah, we certainly did.
Many of my
I remember when they, deinstituted,
Yeah.
took so many people out of the. They were just warehousing them at that New Hampshire
Yeah,
hospital.
it
There was no effective treatment. It was horrible.
Yeah. You had to go there and visit to find out how horrible it was. You had to walk through the corridors. You had to walk
absolutely
through
awful.
Laconia State School. You had to go to the buildings. I mean, I did that on many occasions
Yeah.
when I was on the council.
Yeah.
Major Wheelock was the superintendent. Talked with the Major about this, and he was a non-physician superintendent,
Yeah.
a business guy, came from OMB, and tried to do a good job. So let's learn from the past. Let's make good decisions about the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the good decisions that we can make is get the children out of New Hampshire Hospital, get them where they can be treated properly, create that space that's available now that'll allow for 48 people to be there. You can cut down this waiting list of people wanting
And
to
get
get
them
in.
out of the state prison.
Get them out of the
The
prison.
beds
and-
could be made available.
And at least you have made a rational decision that we can pay for and we can make happen, and it's not wasting money.
That's very good.
Expanding prisons is not the way to go.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one person's opinion.
Well, I
as
certainly
to the
agree with that.
problem.
When I was down in Florida last week for a few days, I had a nice reunion with a high school classmate of mine, a junior high school guy from Goffstown. He's a fan of yours, which surprised me. His name is Hobby Scott. And he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I was out signing up petitions to let felons who've served their sentences vote."
Yeah.
And it worked. They had a great success down there, and I thought that was an astounding achievement. Hey, it looks like we got a caller, Jim on line 1. Hey, Jim. Welcome to the Progress Report with me and Lou. Are you there? You ready with a comment or a question?
Are you there, Jim?
Hi. This is Lou. Hi, Bob. This is Jim O'Connell. How are you?
Good, Jim. How are
I
you?
always love to hear you, Jim.
Okay, so just I'll give you a dollar each if you can guess what I'm calling about, or maybe I'll owe you $1. So obviously, I could talk about a lot of things, but education is where I'd like to
Yes, sure.
Yes.
touch off of. I find it difficult to know where to start, but let me try this. We've got the most expensive university system in the United States of any state. Our students have the highest amount
In terms of
student
cost to
debt
the students,
when they
right?
graduate college.
Yeah.
Right.
For the last number of years, the state has been downshifting costs to the Manchester taxpayers at the local school level, and we end up in Manchester with the least well-funded public school system in the state of New Hampshire.
Right.
Yeah.
What I would like to see a democratically led House, a democratically led Senate, a democratically majority executive council look at is to undo some of the changes done under, for instance, the O'Brien leadership 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes.
And let's look to some of the changes that could happen there. So reversing of the downshifting of costs from
Yes.
the state to the Manchester taxpayers would be an excellent place to start. When you talk, Lou, about the history of the Laconia facility and the state hospital in Concord,
Yes.
I think people are going to look back in a generation from now at the public schools in the city of Manchester and across the state. And people are going to shake their heads thinking that in the city of Berlin, they're closing their last primary school.
What a
It is
tragedy.
the last elementary
What
school in the city.
what a horrible thing to have to say.
Yeah.
Yes, it's incomprehensible that in one of the richest states in the United States of America, we have a city like Berlin, and it's gotten to the point where it has to close down its last elementary school.
Yeah.
In the city of Manchester, you talk about what was going on, and people walked the corridors in Laconia or in Concord 30 years ago before changes were made. We have kids in the city schools in Manchester in need of services that they just can't get. And there are some answers. Let me give you, and I'll stop because I'll let you back to your show. But let me say this. You talk about answers. I look at the reduction in the tax on cigarettes that was pushed through 5 or 6 years ago.
Right, the O'Brien.
It makes no sense. If you look at the tax on cigarettes today compared to where it was 25 or 30 years ago, it's out of whack, and that's an easy replacement. When, for instance, when I look at the tolls and the tolling revenues in the state of New Hampshire, there was a whole exercise gone through by the DOT 2 or 3 years ago, and the toll revenues and the cost of tolls are historically low in the state of New Hampshire, and there are multiple other places. So anyway, I'll let you with that, but I would say to both of you, as you're in the House and the Senate, education. We've got the oldest population in the United States. We need to do something to attract and to keep our young people here. Enough to preach a fine. Thank you guys for all you do, and great to hear you.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you.
Jim, I want to thank you for your advocacy for a strong public education system here in the city of Manchester.
Right.
You've been an effective advocate for many years, and it's just a terrific that you have that voice and you're using it to advocate for the good results that we should have. And so we really appreciate the call. I'd add one other thing to what Jim suggested to the cigarette tax. I don't know why we give away these vanity license plates for only $25. I think people should pay a little bit more of that if they want a vanity license plates.
Well,
but in any event, that's maybe a small item, but that's one thing I've thought of.
Well, I think addressing his comments about education is fundamental. There's no question about that. And with the tax cap in Manchester, we have a problem. We got a great mayor who's working to solve that problem and give more to the schools. But I have tried for a number of years to reinstitute revenue sharing. That revenue sharing money comes back to the communities, allows the communities to do with it what they want. And that was part of a deal that was made in the late 1960s when we went from the stock and trade tax to the business profits tax.
The last big change
the
in the
last
tax system.
most significant change made
early 70s,
right in the history of this state. The
Walter Peterson
and the Royden Sanders Tax Commission.
Yep.
So we've got to do more for the schools. There's no question about that. And my thoughts with regard to the budget are we've got to get money back to the communities, and I'm going to work on that with my colleagues and present some ideas to do that because I think it makes sense. Hopefully, we can do that because addressing his situation is proper. All of my kids went through the Manchester school system, K through 12. Actually, my son even K through 13. He stayed an extra year at Manchester High School West before he went on to college. And my wife is a graduate of the system. My wife is a Manchester native of many years ago. I looked at the numbers, and I looked at, I think I told you this once before, Bob, and I looked at the 1940 census when only about 10% of the people in Manchester had a high school education.
Imagine that.
Yeah. And now, obviously, that's ramped up, but our high school graduation rate isn't good in Manchester. That's something we have to improve. I think Manchester West High School, the graduation rate's around 66%. It was 60. The principal over there has got it up to 66, which obviously is a marked improvement. But we've got to do more, and we've got to do better. And that is fundamental. Everybody wants an opportunity. Education presents you with that opportunity. I mean, if it hadn't been for education,
it's always been the key to doing better.
And the my dad was a high school graduate. My mother never graduated from high school. They were children of immigrant parents who worked hard worked hard, but who recognized the fact that education was the key. So I agree with the caller. I think it's very important, and we have to do more. We all know we have to do more, and we have an opportunity to work in that direction. With this budget, we have an opportunity, and let's hopefully take advantage of that opportunity.
Do we still have a call on line one?
Do we? Let me. Hello. Hello. Do we have someone?
We did, I think.
We did. I got the button.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
You don't need to yell.
Oh, oh my goodness gracious! I thought I was striking a responsive
We're
chord.
just hoping to hear from the caller. Are you there? I think it was Alan,
Yeah,
right?
it would have gone out over the line. We lost him.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, caller, if you want to call back, we'd be
We're
try
happy
to
to
get you
receive
on.
you.
We love our callers. We want to have them
Yeah.
on the air if we can.
We always
if we
do.
can do it, sometimes we kind of miss up with the technology here, which is basically pressing a button. But still, we
Well,
manage.
we're not
we manage
techni-
not always to
we're
do
not
it just
technocrats.
exactly at
We're
the
not
right time.
technocrats, right.
So you want to call back? We'd love to hear from you because we love our callers.
Right. So, wrapping up education. Education's fundamental, and the cost to go to the university. I met with a young woman today from Rochester who wants to go to the University of Pennsylvania, which is a quality school.
It certainly
She
is.
told me that the basic educational cost at the University of Pennsylvania is around $70,000.
Jeez.
Now, you're a Harvard man, are you not?
Well, graduate
Graduate,
school.
law school.
Wesleyan for college.
Wesleyan, okay, Wesleyan. What's the basic educational cost at Wesleyan today?
Oh my God, I don't even know, but it's way, way more than I
well,
pay.
when-
I got along with a very modest scholarship and a campus job and parental support. I graduated with no debt,
Yeah. Well,
which was typical at the time.
I graduated from UNH without debt. My kids each graduated without any debt because my wife and I were able to pay the bills. But when I heard that number for UPenn today, I said, "Holy mackerel! That's just beyond basic
Yeah.
educational costs is beyond."
And how
reach.
long can we continue to believe our flagship university, the University of New Hampshire, a really splendid
Yes,
research,
good school.
top research ranked university? How long can we expect that to continue when we're squeezing them every way possible? I mean, how long can they continue to get the students they need to support the programs that they offer when they have to take on so much debt because the state support is so low? I mean, it's just a really trouble. I think they've done a wonderful job at the University System of New Hampshire.
Oh, I
Not
think,
only UNH, but Plymouth and Keene and the other
Granite
elements.
State. I think the university, the new president at the University of New Hampshire, James Dean, is going to really do a great job. Not that his precursor did a
Damn
bad
challenging job for
It's
sure.
very challenging, but I think any college president today is challenged.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And the life of a college president is usually 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, I've been a college president twice, and I did 4 years at one, and I did 3 years at the other. It's a tough job.
Yeah.
And Bob, when you look at the amenities that kids require at post-secondary education,
Yeah.
those are a lot different than they were when we were in
Oh
school.
boy, are they ever!
So I mean, there's got to be a
They want the
balance.
gym, they want the climbing wall, they want the weight rooms, they want everything.
Well, I washed dishes at the University of New Hampshire. I might say I produced good, clean dishes. I really did. I did a good job.
Glad to hear
I think. and I was on the serving line.
Yeah.
When that came, and I did it in those days for the modest payment of 60 cents an hour. And I think it was good for me to work before I ended up getting a scholarship. Obviously, I got a grant. I mean, athletic scholarships come and go, but indeed, it should be affordable. It's got to be affordable because it's a pathway. It's a pathway to success, and we can't forget about the community colleges, the CTE centers. We need those kinds of people, and it's knowing. My dad was an oil burner mechanic, a very bright guy. My younger brother is a plumber. My nephew is a plumber up in Campton. Those are good jobs, and they carry with them just a great deal of prestige because they're solving problems that most people won't address.
Yep.
So think about that, and this great affiliation we have at the community college here in Manchester with the
It's a real treasure,
with
that
the
community college we
IBEW
have here.
and with others. So let's not forget about those things. But
Yeah. But I think we got to do something about help making college more affordable.
Oh, no question.
And people coming out with this crushing level of debt.
the debt, yeah.
And, and so many of these people want to go into jobs where we would like to have them be in those jobs, like kindergarten teacher,
right,
social worker.
right,
And that's the place where you have the toughest time with the big college debt.
yep,
And, something's screwed up here. And we should address that. We absolutely should address that. Because there are young people who, most young people are idealistic. That's one of the great things about them. And they want to go into these work that's helpful to people.
yep.
Helping elderly. We have an aging population. Helping elderly people stay in their homes or assist them when they're in
Sure.
assisted living.
And we've been
And this
emphasizing
is
that for
this
years.
is the jobs that pay the least, where the crushing debt is the most burden on them pursuing what they would really like to do.
Yep.
We gotta get a handle on that. I just
Yep.
don't know what the key is, but I think we should support our state university and our community colleges so that. And I know, I think Susan Heward, the president of Manchester Community College, I think she's a terrific
Yeah, I
person.
think she does an
She does a
outstanding
brilliant job with
yeah.
that school, and she loves it, and I think she's doing great. But we should help out. We should help out, and I just don't think we're doing enough. I like to say, what they say the third rail in politics is Social Security.
Right.
Well, you know why that's a third rail? Because people your and my age, we tend to vote a lot.
Right.
I never miss voting. You never miss
No,
voting.
I don't.
And the young people, they don't vote as much.
Right.
And they don't get their damned issues addressed as well because they don't vote as much.
Right.
So if you're a young person watching the show, and I hope a few of you are,
Right.
think about that. And don't fail to vote. Don't fail to register and vote.
Right.
Maybe we'll pay attention to your problems, which I think are right up at the very top is the
Yeah.
crushing level of student debt so many people are talking about.
That is.
I was listening today on NPR, and they were having a nice conversation with a guy named Seth Moulton. a
Yes.
congressman
Oh,
down-
yeah.
A Marine, a decorated Marine. He's
Yep.
thinking about running for president.
Right.
And he said he's still paying off his student debt.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness. Well, anyway.
Well, I mean, student debt is incredible, and I got to get to the base cost. Why, why does it cost $70,000 to go to college?
Yeah.
Why? There's got to be a reason why these costs have escalated way beyond the cost of living for a number of years.
Well,
way
I think
beyond.
it's the gold plating of the facilities in part.
And, well, I think that plays a role. There's no question about that. But indeed, cost containment is a very important part of the deal. You want to provide quality education. Most kids have to stay 6 years now before they graduate. Because
Is that so?
It's because of the way the courses are structured.
Yeah.
And they say that's good to stay for 6. In my day, you had to get out in 4.
My day,
That
too.
was it. That was it. You had to get
Yeah.
out in 4. So structurally, there have to be some change. Life's a two-way street. It isn't all on one side. There's a balance that has to be created,
Yeah.
and both have to participate in creating this balance.
Yeah.
It seems to me more and more universities are spending more money on television to recruit students. The population that you can attract is diminishing.
Yeah.
You know what's happening to the
Diminishing
society.
pool of potential applicants. Yeah.
Potential applicants. So you got to structure your curriculum and the way you deliver your product in a different manner. Southern New Hampshire University has this online momentum, which in essence was started by the University of Phoenix. But they've got 100,000 students at Southern New Hampshire University. providing education all over the world in various disciplines, and not just one. It's not
They're
just
certainly an
business or anything.
educational force in our
Yeah,
country.
and they're innovative, they're creative, they're an educational, as you say, an educational force. And I think we have to do more at the community college level and at the university level. I mean, all of these things have to be done. We have to be creative. Most college presidents, when we were there, were never around. They were out raising money,
Yep.
for the endowment. Now that the manager has to be there, the kids want to see something happening at the university, and that hands-on management, to me, makes a lot of sense. And as a result of that, things happen. But it's an evolving situation, and we have
And
to deal with it.
American higher education has been one of the glories of
Yes.
America for a long time. We are the magnet. We attract people from the sons of sheikhs in the Arab Gulf
Right.
to the Chinese succeeding wildly in their booming economy, which is maybe not quite so booming, but still very robust. These are the people that are coming to places like SNU, but not SNU, but universities all over
Yes,
America, because this is the place to get your advanced degree. And we've got to protect that asset. It's one of the
Yes.
greatest assets this country has. It's part of what we call our soft power.
Yep, no
Not
question.
our aircraft carrier battle
Right.
groups. That's hard power. This is soft power, and it's just as, I would say, it may be even more important. How many of the leaders of countries around the world have had some experience of the American education system? We've got to protect and advance that, and I think it's not going to be easy to keep that going.
No question. No
Okay,
question.
we have a call. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, caller. Yeah,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm not sure. Your name's not showing up, so I'm not sure who's calling, but we're happy to welcome you.
Well, thank you. I just I want to piggyback on what a caller said a while ago. It took me a while to get through, so
Okay.
I'm a little bit delayed. But on the education issue with Jim O'Connell, who I really, really respect and thank him for his advocacy and all the work that he does.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I think that he's so spot on is that he's not political per se. He's not running for office. So you get the straight facts. He's not counting votes, and he's just speaking the truth.
Okay.
And I think if we would all take a step back and just realize that, if we all looked at it objectively and didn't have to worry about elections or re-elections, we might get to the bottom of the issue. I mean, we can all admit that the federal government's not doing their fair share. It's obvious with lawsuits and other issues that the state's not doing their fair share. So it falls on the city, and unfortunately, and I don't hate to say it, but I say it with a little reservation, the city's not doing their fair share. So there's plenty of blame to go around. And Jim
Always.
O'Connell has the wherewithal to come out and say it. And unfortunately, there's people that are doing a little bit better than others to move the needle, but they're only doing a little bit better, and they're not doing what we really need. And then I'll close with this, because I am a teacher. I'm going to ask either the senator on your show or another senator, when are we going to bring up the Evergreen Clause? It used to be part of the state
Right.
law.
We brought it
And
up.
when you're negotiating,
Yeah,
teachers
yeah.
that would get their automatic steps and whatnot.
Right.
So for all these pro-education people,
Yep.
why do I need to call a local show to say, one way we could really help the teachers is to introduce legislation
Yeah,
for
to-
Evergreen?
Well, we had
And
the
it wouldn't
Evergreen.
affect me, but it might affect the
We
teacher with a mortgage, the teacher with
Sure.
a student loan,
Yeah.
the teacher that's young, the teacher that's trying to get started,
Right.
the teacher that's been cheated, and I use that word selectively, out of 3 or 4 not pay raises, pay steps. Because when you're hired, you're told you'll get them.
Right. We fought
So
for
for
that.
all those talking we're doing, let's get it done.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for those
You
comments.
walk into the Senate, you walk into the House, you propose legislation,
Right.
thumbs up or thumbs down.
Right. We fought
And
for
I
the Evergreen
really
Clause.
am ashamed of the MEA for not bringing that up as a huge topic.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it is.
it's automatic.
Right.
It's just a question of fairness
Yes.
and doing the right thing. and then we could move on from there.
Okay.
And it's not per se about teachers; it's about people. It's about teachers have children, and it's really about the children that we teach. Because in the long run, those are the ones that are really being affected.
Yeah, no question.
Very good.
Somebody like Jim O'Connell has the courage and the wherewithal to bring it forward. But again, why do we need a Jim O'Connell?
Well,
I'm
we've
looking to my elected leaders to do that.
fine.
Okay.
Well, thanks for your comments.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah, well,
Thank you for having your show.
Well, thank
I
you.
appreciate your public service. Thanks.
Thanks. You know, we fought for the Evergreen Clause.
Why don't you just explain? Not everyone may
Okay,
know
what the Evergreen Clause is, if you're in negotiations, the items that you have in place at the time remain, and if indeed there's movement going forward, that happens because of the evergreen nature of the clause, continuous movement.
Right.
The battle in the Senate over the Evergreen Clause happened a few years ago, and we fought strongly to maintain that because we thought it was I thought it was a good thing, and he's right. You know, you have
It's
to.
gone now, right?
It's gone. Yeah, it was eliminated.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Right. Well, you got to keep your benefits while the negotiations were going on. Is really what the real plus was. I mean, we can all talk about ways that we can identify problems, but indeed, the greatest thing that we have going for us is our ability to make changes and to do the right thing. And I think one of the things that we have to be very proud of in our city is how our police force handled that terrible situation in Manchester last week. Nobody got hurt. All the people were gotten out of that motel safely.
Yeah, we can be very, very grateful for that skill and professionalism.
And these men and women of all of the public services, it was the state police, it was the local police, it was the national police,
SWAT team.
They all worked together. And I just happened to be walking across the street, and a DE agent came by, and we shook hands, and I said, "Great job." And you know, kudos to our chief, Carlo Catano, and to every officer on our force.
Indeed.
So that's a very positive thing we can say about public service. And if that leads to other good things happening in our city, you know, that's a catalytic agent that will provide for other things to happen. People become believers in the system. They want to participate in the system.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. I think these
makes
law
things
enforcement
happen.
people, federal, state, Nashua, and Manchester, deserve a heck of a lot of credit for a great outcome.
They did a great job.
Could have been much worse.
Right, and we've had in our city, you know, 5 or 6 murders in the last month or so, and our guys are doing a great job to keep the lid on it and to keep us going forward. And I just I'm very, very thankful for that. I've been in Manchester a long time, as I say, and I have great affection for the city, and I hope others will manifest that affection for the city and in doing things in a positive manner, you know, for the city. We all have to participate, and that's the name of the game. Can't lay back.
You know, we're pretty much at the end of the hour here, folks, and we didn't take any breaks, which Mike and I usually do, and it goes by real fast, and we have a great public service here in Lou D'Alessandro. We both are very accessible. If you want to talk to either of us about what you think about these budget issues we discussed or other issues, one issue I thought we might get to, but I guess we're not going to have time, is do you think we should legalize cannabis as a revenue source for the state of New Hampshire? I don't even know where Lou stands on that. I'm not going to vote for that, but you want to talk to me about that, or, contact me with your opinion. I'd be welcome. I'm sure Lou would, too.
Yeah, you're always welcome to call the office.
Next week I'll be back with Mike Farley again. Great job on the parade, Mike. I guess it was a wonderful parade again. And we will have on Amanda Grady-Sexton from New Futures. And we're looking forward to that. And then the week after that, I think we're going to have on Bill Ryder from the Community Mental Health Center. And that'll be a good show, too.
That'll be an excellent one.
So thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. And we'll...